The Joe Rogan Experience.
I worked in a high school for a while. I was a counselor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like I went to school for social work for a while.
So,
And,
what kind of counseling would you do?
just like therapy. It was a really cool, the way they did it was like, it was a charter school, and I was there as an intern because I was getting my master's in social work. So they would have interns there as therapists for the school kids, basically, so that the kids could get free therapy at school if they were exhibiting kind of problems or whatever. So it was like, I worked at it was like an inner city school in Philly, and I would just go there and chill in an office, and they would just like, I'd have to get kids from class, and they would just come. We would like talk a couple times a week. And then you could bring their family in if they had problems at home. You could be like, all right, let's call the mom and dad.
Well, this is what this guy was talking about. This is what Tallarico was talking about. What they cut funding for.
Yeah, it's a shame because this school was like, they kind of like ran it them. I guess they were getting funded by the state, but the way they got around it was just using interns. So it wasn't like, you're not getting like the most experienced people in the world.
But you're getting some help.
You're getting something, man.
Yeah.
So.
Well, this kid that he was talking about, like, he had this very detailed story about this kid who was like a good kid, just came from a fucked up house.
Mm-hmm.
And these people around him were the only positive influences that he had ever had, and he was starting to get better.
Yeah.
And then they took it away, and he starts falling apart.
Yeah, and dude, it's also like, you forget, like, because there's like, for kids, when you like, especially you're like in a city, and kids are telling you like their lives, it's fucking heartbreaking. Like
it
the
is.
shit, like their day-to-day setup, you'd be like,
Horrific.
fucking Christ, man.
Yeah.
And then they're just looking at you like, what do I do? And I'm like, you gotta hang in there. There's literally nothing I can tell you to do. You just gotta hang in there. And like,
Right.
It was sad, but it was one of like my favorite. If I didn't do stand-up, I would probably do that for a job.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was fun.
It sounds very rewarding, right?
Yeah.
You're actually helping people.
Yeah, and it's just like intense. You're just sitting there in a room with someone, and it's like everything they're saying, there's no like guidance. You have to just be like, all right, well, like maybe this, maybe that. And it's like I don't know, I always liked it a lot. It was pretty cool. But then you go back to the school, and it's so funny. I went to social work school just because I was doing stand-up. I was kind of kicking around. I was like, yeah, I was doing the podcast, but it was like slow going. And I remember watching Jordan Peterson be like, the schools are crazy right now. And part of me, like, I wanted to be a therapist, but I remember being like kind of curious, like, I wonder how bad they are. And I went to school. I went to my master's program in social work, which was like ground zero for all like the stuff he was talking about. And it was literally like worse than he made it out to be.
What was it like?
It was insane, dude. It was literally like, I went to school, again, to be a therapist, but like social work, you can be a therapist faster than if you go to school for psychology because you just like don't need any of the science really. You just study kind of like the theory and, whatever. So you can be a therapist quicker. It's like a shortcut kind of. But it would be like, it was just you'd be in a room with like 13 other people, and they would like, you talk about whatever it'd be. Like, let's talk about like clinical approaches here and there, and it would just right away turn into like race, gender, who's the most oppressed, do this. And it was just like, people would tell stories like, one time this guy said this to me, and everyone would be like, I can't believe that fucking guy said that. It was literally like a nothing. You paid $60,000. It was like I would be terrified if I was getting therapy. And again, it's like not everybody, but there's a lot of very people would cry in class. So you'd be like talking, and like people would just start bursting out in tears, like, I don't feel safe. It was insane. And I'm like, dude, you're going to be talking to people who are like homeless? How are you going to help them?
Oh my God.
And it was all female. It was mostly female dominated. It was like me and 3 or 4 other guys. And then like people would come in because you'd bring your case files in and be like, here's something I'm dealing with. Let me get some, what do you think about this? I remember this guy was dealing with this like Vietnam vet who like, had like lived in Philly his whole life. And he was like, I was just shocked the way he talked about women. And it's like, bro, you're dirty macking your client, dude, for these chicks. I'm like, come on, man. It was just kind of weird. It was like, dude, he's a fucking 70-year-old dude. He's lived in Philly his whole life.
He probably stabbed Charlie in a tunnel somewhere.
Yeah, and he was just very crude about women. It's like, come on, man. Of course this guy is.
Yeah.
Don't throw him under the fucking bus. You're supposed to be helping. That was my whole point. It was like, if you're doing therapy with people, it's like, life is just so hard and so complex. And if you're going to be like, this doesn't sit with my party politics, I was like, you guys got to drop the political shit, man, and just like meet these people where they're at.
Well, there's so many guys out there that just want brownie points.
That's what dude,
Yeah.
He's exactly what it was. I was like, dude, I know what you're doing right now. You're dirty macking this guy. So you can be like, personally, I was offended. I'm like, dude.
Oh, those guys are the worst.
Oh, I couldn't stand it at all.
Those guys are the worst.
But then they tried to kick me out of the school.
For what?
Because when Shane got in trouble for SNL, my name popped up in the byline because they had no clue. It was like a double life. I would go to social work school, because I just took out loans. I'm like, we'll just see what if the podcast works, I'll just pay off the loans. If it doesn't, I'll have a degree. And so it had been pretty contentious because my plan was like, dude, just go, keep it cool, don't say anything. And then, dude, you'd be in these classrooms and like, I remember the one time this lady, and they're all like young, they're right out of college. They'd come out and they'd be like, well, and I believe this was like unprompted. She was like, well, I would never personally call the cops on a black person ever. And I'm just sitting in the back of the room and I'm like, no one's going to say this is the craziest thing. And I'm like, what if he was beating a woman? And she was like, and like, it was just that non-fucking stop. And I couldn't help it. So I would start saying stuff. The room would go into chaos. So like, I literally couldn't bite my tongue. And then eventually they found, once they already kind of had it out for me. And once that news came out about the podcast, they were like, we got him dead to rights. So then they like the student council, they didn't like me at all. They all kind of did a motion to get me kicked out. And so the teacher came, or like, the dean or whatever, who actually was nice. I liked her a lot. She I had a meeting with her and she was like, yeah, these people feel unsafe, blah, blah, blah. So I had to do them. And it was like unsafe, or they just don't, they don't like what they're hearing. But like I had a meeting with like the board basically. Would you ever like fantasize about getting like defending yourself in court?
Yeah.
I got to do that. And I got to have like we got to like debate about whether or not I actually violated the code of ethics. And it was like kind of this gray area. So it was awesome. I recorded it on my phone.
Wow.
It's like an hour long. I never listened to it again, but it was like, because I was like, just in case they jam me up. The lady was like, like, what would you do if we kicked you out? And I was like, dude, like, I'll make the most of that for sure. Like, I wouldn't want to do it, but I would just sue you guys, man. Like, you can't kick me out. I'm already like invested. Blah, blah, blah. And then COVID happened, so like they just hushed it all. I just got to finish online class. But yeah, they tried to give me the boot, and I remember the day.
Wow. Did they have a specific thing that they were upset about? Was it your association with Shane?
It was just that clip, that Chinatown clip came out.
Oh, wow.
And they just saw us like, I'm sure they like looked into other stuff, but they were like, he's making this place unsafe. We're not safe here. And I was like, shut up.
Yeah, podcasters and academia.
It was.
Academia, that does not go together.
Also, dude, like, I thought, like, having a master's, I was going to be around geniuses. It's like, they're not that smart. You go to a place with masters and PhDs, half of them don't even, like, read anything. You talk about a book, they're like, I never heard of that. And then they'd show you, like, Netflix. You're like, bro, I'm paying $60,000 for this. You're hitting me with a Netflix doc? It's like, this is $8 a month.
They were showing you Netflix docs in class?
Yeah. We watched a Netflix doc. One of the classes, we watched, like, the 13th Amendment. And I was like, I saw this already. What the fuck, man? Like, it's that like, I mean, I remember thinking like, damn, everyone was on Peterson's ass about this. He was totally right. Liberal arts colleges were like, I couldn't have thought of a bigger waste of money in terms of like bang for buck and like, what did I actually learn?
Well, I remember when we were talking about all the madness that was going on in schools and people were like, why do you care about this? This is happening in college. I'm like, they're going to eventually graduate. And they're going to have this ideology, and they're going to get into corporations. They're going to get into business. They're going to carry this with them and try to enforce these crazy rules.
Or somebody like your kid's having problems, and you go to a therapist, and they're just like psycho. Like we were talking about modalities of therapy. One of them, someone floated, and the teacher was like, "Oh yeah, for sure." It was called I don't know what it was called. It was like activism therapy, where you get people politically active in order to like motivate them and enrich their lives. And I was like, you can't do that. You can't take like a confused, existentially adrift person and be like, this is what you need to do. Go
get politically active?
I swear to God, dude, there was like really creepy stuff going on there. And it was all just like complete groupthink. You couldn't, like, if you said anything outside of like what was acceptable, you would just get punished. The teachers would kind of even like, some of them would try to like scold you or be like, yeah, okay, dude. And it's like, it's a lot. I could see it why it would just break people, because I would like, my heart would be beating. I don't really like conflict like that.
Yeah.
But it was also like, dude, some of the stuff you're like, I can't not say anything. This is insane, dude.
Do you ever talk about this on stage?
No, I've never really talked about being in social work.
Oh my God, it's like there's gold in them dar hills.
It was fun. At that time of the podcast, I would leave school. I'd come back to the podcast, like, bro, you won't believe what the fuck these people are saying. Like,
did you say it on the podcast? Oh, that's awesome. It just seems like it's a great gold mine for stand-up.
Yeah.
Like, because you have a very unique experience.
True.
Like, as a window into how crazy people are in school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it was terrifying, man. And then the weirdest part is, like, after years went by, they were like, do you want to get your PhD here? And I was like, no.
After COVID? After
After
everything?
after it all.
They just wanted your money.
Exactly. I saw that and I was like, man, get the hell out of
It
here.
would be nice to call yourself Dr. Matt, though.
Bro, don't think I didn't think about it.
Come on, dog. Come on, dog.
I know.
That just shows you how many kooky doctors there are out there.
That really opened my eyes. I thought doctors were like the smartest people in the world. Then I went to like higher education. I'm like, this is fucking insane.
Yeah.
You could be a doctor, dude. Anyone could, obviously, like anyone could be a fucking doctor.
Especially about some subjects, right?
Exactly. That's the thing. Not like
not hard sciences.
Not hard science. If you want
calculus.
If you want to be a doctor, you could go for like anthropology, whatever.
Yeah.
No problem, dude.
Yeah.
And they can't say shit. Like you can make up, you can like make your thesis on anything and be like, "Excuse me."
Well, did you ever see what Peter Boghossian and James Lindsay and Ellen Pluckrose did? Do you know what they did?
No.
They made these fake academic papers.
Oh yeah. I saw that.
Like heteronormative something in dog parks. They were talking about like gay experiences with dogs have, and it was like a peer-reviewed paper. Fat bodybuilding was one of them. Yeah, and they were like celebrated. These papers were celebrated.
Dude, it would go 100%. We the theory, like the critical race theory and all that stuff you cover. When you get into it, you're like. It was, and I remember like saying this. I was very, like, it reminded me because I'd been outside of Walmart. Someone handed me like a pamphlet, and it was like white supremacy literature. And when you read that stuff, you read the first two sentences, you go, okay, that sounds legit. And then there's this like huge quantum leap in reasoning. You're like, whoa, how the fuck did we get here? A lot of that's very similar, where they'll make a thing like no one can disagree with.
Right.
And then it jumps real quick, and you're like,
just complete groupthink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was scary to be like, damn, dude, these people are going to be like. These people are therapists working with kids, older people, this and that, and it was just like, I was like, how is this the people supposedly like, guiding people through life or like taking people who are lost or suffering and being, I don't know. It was kind of rough because the animus against a person who like thought differently, it was palpable and like very severe to where it was like, dude. And the funniest part was like, I was in that high school in the inner city. It was the school was like 97% black, the rest Latino. And they were like, how would your students feel about your podcast material? I'm like, they don't give a fuck. They would laugh. Like they have bigger fish to fry than being like, what did you say on a podcast? It's like, they're like high schoolers in Philly fighting for their lives.
How would your students feel?
That was the big disconnect. I'm like, you guys have like, I don't know, man. Like they would even teach you. This would crack me up. I was like thinking about this the other day where they would tell you if you had a client and, say your client was black and, I'm a white guy, I should lead by going like, how do you feel about the fact that I'm white and you're black? And I was like, dude, you guys realize you're in a classroom studying how to talk to a black person. I'm like, that's fucking weird. I was like, you can just talk to them, man. And if that comes up, you can tackle it. Right. But like, you're uncomfortable. And then you're going like, so black person, how do you feel that I'm white? It's like, dude, that is, and they would push back against me. I'm like, no, you guys can't do that. That's crazy.
Well, you were actually applying it in the real world. They were just they were just hanging out in these circle jerks.
Exactly. And a lot of them would be like, I'm social justice, blah, blah, blah. And be like, all right, where's your field placement? That was like your, that was like your internship. And they're like, oh, I'm out in like the main line's like a really nice area in Philly. It's like, I'm doing like a high school on the main line. It's like, okay, dude, it's like, it's like take that act somewhere else. And it's like those kids don't want to hear any of this shit, like at all. And I would like you to talk to them. Like if race comes up, I would talk to them. But like that would have been so crazy to take a black 8th grader and being like, I'm white. How do you feel about that? That would be so creepy and weird.
Isn't it crazy that they think you're obligated to bring that up? You have an obligation to discuss it?
Also, it's like they fucking know. They can see me. I'm clearly white. They know I'm white. And it's like, exactly. It's like, and if that, you talk, and then you can like bring it up because it's a thing, but it's like leading with that. I'd always be like,
the least of their problems.
Exactly.
They're just probably happy someone takes an interest in them and is kind to them.
Dude, and that was a big thing too of like, because you get them out of class and a lot of them, they'd be like, I'm fucking talking to this guy. So like, whatever. And I would just chill and be like, you can just do your homework. And then you just start helping them with their homework. Like, what are you doing? And, and then you eventually build rapport. But it was just like, I'm like, these are the teachers telling you this. And you're like, fuck, dude, you guys are guiding people into this? It was, dude, I walked away from that being like, God damn.